Welcome to a new video series entitled Strategic Capitalism. I'm Richard Devaney from the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College, and in this video series we'll be gaining insights about my latest book, Strategic Capitalism, New Economic Strategy for Winning the Capitalist Cold War. These short videos are interviews with senior executives and CEOs from a variety of industries talking about what it will take for America to win the capitalist Cold War. Tell me a little bit about your views of, what would you tell the president today if you were meeting with him?
Well, I would tell him that we have a serious issue on our hands in the U.S. and frankly in the developed world generally, and that we have to lead, meaning we have to take tough, courageous decisions. Simply speaking, expenses are running faster than revenues in our country, and they have been for years, and we've been using debt to finance that problem. We have to get our fiscal house in order, our budget. But importantly also, we have to raise revenue. And tax reform, I think, is an important ingredient, not the only one, but one of the tools we have in our toolkit to raise revenue. And that would be corporate tax reform and individual tax reform. On the fiscal side, just returning back to that topic, we do have to deal with entitlements. I mean, I think that when you look at, for every dollar of revenue coming into our country today, 56, 57 cents is devoted to entitlements. Ignoring that would be impossible if you wanted to really solve our problem. We have 19 cents going to paying for defense, 19 cents of every dollar going to discretionary dollars, and about 6 cents going to interest. So the bulk of our fiscal issue will come down to our courageous ability to deal with entitlements. And I think there are some things we can do relative to Social Security and Medicare that won't impact Americans too significantly. We also have to deal with taxes. When I say tax reform for individual tax reform, I do agree with some of the president's principles vis-a-vis taxes, and I think that we have to look at a tax structure that's fair. So on both sides of the table, we have to fix expenses and revenue, and of course focus on growth again in the U.S. I think once we get growth going, jobs will be created in our country. We'll be in a better position vis-a-vis the consumer balance sheet problem that we have in the U.S., and that will get sorted out over time. But I think those are some of the ideas I'd like to flesh out with our president today.
Repatriation of profits. Holding back a lot of money?
Yeah, in my opinion it is. I mean, you have probably one of the most powerful QE3 programs available to us that is privately funded. It's called tax repatriation. There's, from an estimate of $1.5 to $2 trillion of multinational cash stuck in overseas bank accounts because we're unwilling to bring it back because of the tax burden associated with bringing that back. I think we ought to allow companies going forward to not only bring back that cash, but on a go-forward basis to do that. So that would mean moving from a global tax system to a territorial tax system. I think that's important because I think we need a long-term program for repatriation, not a one-time event, which causes different behavior. And I think that you could see substantial benefits to our economy if companies would take that cash back in and reinvest it in infrastructure, jobs, R&D. And I think therein lies the conundrum between government and business, which is, will you do that? If we allow you to bring this cash back, will you invest it, or will you put it into dividends or stock buybacks or otherwise? I think that those are good things, by the way, to do, but if I only could get it back on a one-time event, I'll probably do more of that based on investor pressure than I would longer term investing in long-term structural programs, if you will. And then I think they should have some accountability for taking this cash back in the form of really creating jobs and creating higher R&D credits and so on and so forth.
The manufacturing base of the United States has been declining, but a big portion of your business is still around manufacturing. Do you do any manufacturing in the United States now, or is it all international?
We manufacture in the U.S. proudly in Columbus, Georgia. We built that manufacturing plant in 2009 during the height of the downturn, when other companies were closing down and shuttering factories in the U.S. We were building them. It's one of the best factories we have in the world, in fact, the best in terms of quality. Our productivity there is very high. Manufacturing today as a percent of the U.S. economy is in the low single digits. It needs to be back up to where it once was in the high teens, even up to 20% of our economy. I'd like to think we can be an example of leading the way of how to do that. Public-private partnership was very meaningful to us. Our public-private partnership with the state of Georgia helped us in this regard. I think it's a tool the U.S. should use at the state level and at the federal level to get companies reinterested in manufacturing in the U.S. But we're very proud of what we do here, and what we do here is as effective and as efficient of what we do in China or India or Eastern Europe.
What else would you recommend for the government to do in order to rebuild the manufacturing base, to go from the current minuscule amount to get up to your 20% goal that's been spoken about by Jeff Immelt as part of the competitiveness council that he's on?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of things we can do. Tax reform would be one of those things. If we had tax reform, I think you would see significant investment in manufacturing again in the U.S. I also think it would spur on foreign direct investment in the U.S. and bring manufacturing from multinational companies outside the U.S. to the U.S. Clearly, public-private partnership initiatives would be important at the state and local level as well as federal level. Incentives for companies to build manufacturing plants in the U.S. would be helpful, again, at both the state and local and the federal level. And then I think we need to work hard with our trading partners to work with us. And I don't want to use the word regulation because I don't think it's required, but an understanding that we're opening up our market to them, and hence they're opening it up to us, and perhaps we can work on ways in which we can spur on manufacturing growth in the U.S. by they buying our products.